going to discuss about hierarchical clustering. In the last class, we have gone through one of the clustering algorithms, and that was the k-means algorithm. That comes under the partition-based methods. So today we'll be focusing upon hierarchical clustering method. Before that, let us see what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of k-means clustering. So if we look at the advantages of k-means clustering, it is relatively simple to implement. So we have seen the algorithm. So it is quite easy to implement. Then it scales to large data sets. So even though we are having the large data sets, the k-means algorithms work well. As I stated, k-means algorithm is iterative algorithm. So it always guarantees the convergence after iterations. It easily adopts the new examples. So if we are having any new examples, those also need to be considered while implementing k-means. Then these new examples can also be adopted easily. Further, it generalizes to clusters of different shapes and sizes, such as the elliptical clusters. So usually the k-means clustering algorithms are generalizing well for the elliptical or the circular kinds of clusters. These are the advantages of k-means algorithm. So if we look at disadvantages, the biggest disadvantage of k-means algorithm is choosing the value of k manually. So while implementing k-means clustering algorithm, we need to select first what would be the number of clusters, and choosing this value of k manually in advance might be one of the disadvantages, because in many of the applications it is not known earlier how many clusters actually are required to segregate the data. So that could be one of the disadvantages. Next disadvantage of k-means clustering relates with the initial values of my centroids. So as we have seen, we pick the random samples as the cluster centers initially. So whatever are the initial centers, those we have selected, depending on that, the time it takes to converge changes. So the time of convergence of k-means algorithm and finalization of clusters actually is dependent on the initial values of the centroids, those we are selecting. K-means algorithms do not work well if the data are of varying sizes and density other than the elliptical clusters. So it generalizes to the shapes and sizes such as elliptical clusters, but other than that, if the data is presented, then there may be a trouble with respect to the size and density of the clusters. Further, it is sensitive to outliers. What it means, if few of the samples are outliers or noisy, then they suddenly affect on the computation of centroids, and this is how they are very sensitive as far as this algorithm is considered. So it may happen that we are having the outliers or noisy data in the data set, then the clustering may be not proper because of these outliers, as they are affecting a lot in computation of the centroids or the means of the cluster. So these are the advantages and the disadvantages of k-means clustering. So as we have stated, the biggest disadvantage is deciding the value of k. So the algorithm that we are, and that is the agglomerative hierarchical clustering algorithm. So let us see the concept first. So in this agglomerative hierarchical clustering, given the data samples, what we do first is we assign each point to individual cluster. So initially, if I am having 4 points, then every point is a separate cluster. So initially, if we are having 4 points, then obviously we are having number of clusters equal to 4. Then what we are going to do is, at each iteration, we merge the closest pair of clusters. Say for example, initially we are having these 4 clusters. In the next iteration, what we are going to do is, we are going to find out the closest clusters. So in this scenario, this and this, these 2 clusters are closest. So what we are going to do is, we are going to cluster them. We are going to merge them in the same cluster. Right? What next will happen? Now we are having this one cluster. This entire is the second cluster, and this is the third cluster. So in this case, now this cluster and this cluster are nearer, right? So these 2 closest clusters are then merged together and will be forming one cluster out of that. And finally, this we are having this one cluster and this is the other cluster. So finally, we are going to merge these 2 clusters, and this is how we are getting a single cluster. Right? So at each iteration, we go on merging the closest pair of clusters, and we repeat this process until a single cluster is left. Right? So this is the general idea of agglomerative hierarchical clustering. In the divisive clustering, exactly opposite is happening. So initially, in agglomerative clustering, what we did, we assumed that every individual point is individual cluster. In case of divisive clustering, we group all the points in the data set in a single cluster, and then iteratively we proceed on splitting up those clusters in dividing those clusters, right? But we are not going to discuss the divisive hierarchical clustering right now, but we'll be focusing upon this agglomerative hierarchical clustering. So I hope you must have understood this basic concept, how the clustering is being done. Initially, individual point is individual cluster, then we go on merging the closest pairs of clusters, and we are going to repeat this process until a single cluster is formed. Let's proceed with one example so that we can understand how this algorithm works. Let us assume that there is a class of students. Right? And the students have undergone some assignment. And now what the teacher wants is, teacher is having the marks of assignments. So teacher now wants to group the data. So teacher wants to group the students, and the data the teacher is having is marks. So based on this data, teacher wants to group the students. Teacher is not having any idea about number of clusters. So teacher is not knowing how many clusters or groups need to be formed. So whatever is the data available, simply teacher wants to form the number of the groups of students, and the student is the teacher is unaware of or she is not having any idea about the number of groups. Okay, so in this scenario now, we are going to make use of this hierarchical clustering. Okay, so let us assume for simplicity now, in this particular scenario, we are having the students along with their marks. But instead of considering the marks of students of all class, for simplicity and for the demonstration purpose, let us assume that we are having the data of 5 students, right? So we are having student ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we are having the marks of those students. Okay, now the first step what we are going to do is we are going to create a proximity matrix. So what we mean by this proximity matrix, we are going to compute the distance between each data point with each other data point. So obviously this, if I am having 5 samples, the proximity matrix, size of proximity matrix would be 5 by 5. So how many samples I am having? If I am having m samples or m observations, then the size of the proximity matrix would be m by m. So see here, we have created this proximity matrix here. So see, I am having 5 samples, right? So I am having 5 rows and I am having 5 samples. So I am having 5 columns as well. We are making use of Euclidean distance to compute the distance between 2 samples. So the distance between sample 1 and 1. So these are 2 same samples. So obviously the distance between these 2 samples is 0. Right? Now we are computing the distance between sample 1 and sample 2. So sample 1 is 10. Marks 10 and sample 2 is marks 7, right? So the Euclidean distance we are computing, we know the formula for Euclidean distance, we have seen it in the last session as well, right? So the Euclidean distance is 10 minus 7 now square and square root of that. So right now we are having only one feature. Only one feature we are having right now, but it may happen in real world scenario, we may have more than one features. So the respective features are being subtracted, then we are having the square of that and we are having the summation of all such features and then we are getting the square root. Right now we are having only one feature and that is why our computation becomes simple. So distance between 1 and 2 is 10 minus 7 square and then square root. So obviously it comes out to be 3. Similarly, we are computing the distance between 1 and 3, 1 and 4 and 1 and 5. So the respective distances are being computed. So we are going to fill up this matrix. So once again 2 and 1. So it is the same distance. 1 and 2 is equivalent to 2 and 1. So this has distance remains same. So 2 and 1 distance is 3, 2 and 2 distance is 0, 2 and 3 the distance is 21, 2 and 4 the distance is 13, 2 and 5 the distance is 28. Right? So in the similar manner, we are going to compute the distances. Right, and we are going to fill up this matrix known as proximity matrix. So the proximity matrix gives us the distance between each pair of observations. Right, so please see here the diagonal of this matrix is having distance 0 because the diagonal depicts the distance of the same pair of observations 1 1, 2 2, 3 3 and so on. Okay, so this is how we are going to compute the proximity matrix. If you have any doubts so far, please let me know. thank you. So, given the data, the first step is we are computing the proximity matrix. Okay. Now, what next? We are going to assign all points to individual clusters. So, as we are having 5 points, these 5 points are assigned to 5 different clusters. So, every point is a different cluster. Right? Now, we have computed this proximity matrix. Right? We have computed this proximity matrix. So, what we are going to do is, we are going to find out the minimum distance between the pair of clusters. So, here every sample is one cluster. So, the distance, minimum distance here is 3 other than 0, because 0 is the distance between the same pair. Okay. So, here the minimum distance that we are finding is 3. And this distance 3 is between cluster 2 and cluster 1. Is that correct? This distance, minimum distance that we have found here is between cluster 1 and cluster 2. So obviously what we are going to do is, we are going to group these two clusters, because these two clusters are closer to one another. So in this step, what we are going to do is, we are going to look at the smallest distance in the proximity matrix, and we are going to merge these points together, or merge these clusters together. So we are going to merge cluster 1 and cluster 2, because these two are the closest one. Okay. So after merging these two clusters, what will happen? These two clusters will go in one single cluster. Okay. Now, what will happen now in our data? First and second clusters are merged. So, we are having one single entry for these two, or this cluster. So, this is one cluster, 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5. Now, we are going to look at the marks. So, we have merged these two clusters, 1 and 2, and the marks assigned to this cluster are the maximum marks out of these two, 1 and 2. So, see here, initially cluster 1 is having 10 marks and cluster 2 is having 7 marks. So, the maximum marks out of these two are 10. Right? So, whenever we are merging these two clusters, we are assigning this maximum marks to this cluster. Right? And rest of the clusters 3, 4, 5 are as it is. Okay. Now, what we are going to do next is, we are going to use a dendrogram to depict this pictorially. So, dendrogram is actually a tree-like structure. Right? And this dendrogram is being used to find out the number of clusters in the last step. So, let us try building this dendrogram at every iteration, so that we can understand how we are going to form this dendrogram. Of this join will be the distance 3 here, distance between these points. So 1 and 2 are being clustered together. So we are connecting these two clusters with the dendrogram like this, and the height, this height of the dendrogram is equivalent to the distance between these two clusters. So what is the distance between these two clusters? It is 3. So height of this dendrogram is 3. What we did initially, we assigned individual point to individual cluster. Then whatever the proximity matrix that we have computed, we are referring to that, and we are finding out the minimum distance using this proximity matrix. So minimum distance we found is between cluster 1 and cluster 2. So these two clusters need to be merged together. So we are merging these two clusters together and we are coming up with a single cluster out of these two. Rest of the clusters are as it is. So 1 and 2 is being merged. 3, 4, 5 are as it is. The respective marks are being shown in this table. So whenever two clusters are merged, we are picking up the maximum marks, right, of these clusters, right? So after this step, what we are going to do next is we are going to make use of a dendrogram, which is a tree kind of a structure, and this dendrogram will help us to find the number of clusters, because in advance we do not know how many clusters we may have, right? So how we are going to plot this dendrogram? We will be having on x-axis the number of samples. In our case, we are having 5 samples. On the y-axis, we are having the distance, right? So whenever two clusters are merged, we are going to join these two clusters in our dendrogram using these vertical lines and this horizontal line, right? The height of this join is same as the distance between these two clusters. So here the distance between these two clusters 1 and 2 is 3. So the height of this line or this dendrogram would be 3. Got it? We are going to repeat the same process next. So now this is our new data table. So we need to find out the new proximity matrix for this data table. So this is our data now and we are supposed to update our proximity matrix. So now in this proximity matrix we will be having 4 rows and 4 columns, because we are having 4 clusters now, because 1 and 2 are merged together, right? So in the similar way we are going to compute the distances. So see here, the distance from this cluster 1, 2 and 1, 2 is obviously 0. The distance between 1, 2 and 3 is 18. The distance between 1, 2 and 4 is 10. The distance between 1, 2 and 5 is 25. Right? We are making use of Euclidean distance. So Euclidean distance becomes simple as we are having a single feature. If we are having more than one feature, then accordingly we need to compute the distance. Right? Now, once we have updated this proximity matrix, once again, what we are going to do? We are going to find out the minimum distance out of this. So what is the minimum distance here? Please speak up. What is the minimum distance here in this proximity matrix?
7.
7, correct. So this is the minimum distance. So this distance is between which clusters? Yes. This distance is between which clusters? Yeah.
3 and 5.
3 and 5, right? So 3 and 5 are closest now according to this proximity matrix. So we are going to merge cluster number 3 and cluster number 5, right? Because they are closest. So see here, this was the earlier scenario. So 3 and 5 are being merged now, right? So 3 and 5 will form one cluster. So this blue dots, one cluster, this green dots, another cluster, and this orange dot is one more cluster. So now we'll be having 3 clusters after merging 3 and 5. Once again, we are going to draw the dendrogram. So this was the dendrogram for 1 and 2. Now we are merging 3 and 5, right? So we'll be having these vertical lines for 3 and 5, and the distance or the height of this dendrogram for this cluster 3 and 5 would be equivalent to the distance between these two clusters. So the distance between these two clusters is 7. So see here, the height of this dendrogram is 7. Got it? Any doubts so far? Yes? Any doubts so far?
No, ma'am.
Right. So let us proceed now. Once again, we are repeating this process until a single cluster is being formed. So once again, we are going to update the proximity matrix. Now we are having 3 clusters, 1, 2, 3, 5 and 4, and the respective marks. So this 35 marks we have obtained here for 3, 5 cluster, which is the maximum of cluster 3 and cluster 5. Right? So this is now our data. So what we are going to do next? We are going to form the proximity matrix for this data. So now we'll be having the proximity matrix wherein we are having 3 rows and 3 columns. Correct? And these are the respective distances those we have computed. Once again, the same process we are going to repeat. So we are going to find out the minimum distance from this proximity matrix. So what is the minimum distance here? Minimum distance? Yes? What is the minimum distance in this proximity matrix? Yes?
10.
10. So we are having the minimum distance as 10. And which are 2 closest clusters now? Having this distance 10. Which are the closest clusters? Cluster 1, 2 and 4. Right? So this distance is between cluster 1, 2 and 4. So these are the closest clusters. So we need to merge these two now. Okay? So see here, we are going to merge now this 1, 2, cluster 1, 2 and 4. Right? So this, as a result, we will be having now only 2 clusters. 1, 2, 4 will go in one cluster and 3, 5 is the other cluster. Right? So once again we are updating our dendrogram. See here, 1, 2 we had one cluster and now we are merging 1, 2 and 4. So 1, 2 and 4. So see here, we are drawing a dendrogram like this. So we are having these vertical lines now from cluster 1, 2 and 4. And the height of this dendrogram is equivalent to the distance between these two clusters, and it happens to be 10. Right? So we have updated our dendrogram as well. Got it? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So still there are 2 clusters. So we need to iterate because we would like to come up with a single cluster. Right? Once again, now we are having 2 clusters. In first cluster we are having 1, 2, 4. In second cluster we are having 3, 5. These are the respective marks. So we are computing the proximity matrix, and obviously now here the minimum distance is 15, and obviously that distance is between 2 clusters 3, 5 and 1, 2, 4. So obviously we will be forming a single cluster. So here we had 2 clusters and finally we are going to form one cluster wherein all the samples belong to a single cluster. So see here how we are going to update our dendrogram. So 1, 2, 4, this was the cluster that gets merged with this cluster 3, 5. So see here we are drawing these two vertical lines from 1, 2, 4 and 3, 5, and the height is 15, which is the distance between these two clusters, and this is how we are drawing or updating our dendrogram. Correct? So we are done because we have come up with a single cluster now, wherein all the points are in one cluster, and we have formed simultaneously this dendrogram. So what we are going to do next is we want to find out the number of clusters now. So we are making use of this dendrogram to come up with the final number of clusters. So see here, what we are going to do next is, this is our dendrogram. So we are going to find out one threshold. We are going to find out the threshold, and we are going to draw a horizontal line in this dendrogram. So generally try to set the threshold in such a way that it cuts the tallest vertical line. So which is the tallest vertical line? This and this. These two are the tallest vertical lines. So we are going to select a threshold such that the threshold, and we are going to draw the horizontal line based on that threshold. So we are going to find a threshold such that the horizontal line cuts the tallest vertical line. So in this situation, we may think of the threshold as 12, and we are going to draw a horizontal line at this threshold 12, and it cuts the tallest vertical lines. Repeat once again. What we did? This was our dendrogram. So we found whichever are the tallest vertical lines, right? So this and this are the tallest vertical lines. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Right. Once we have found these tallest vertical lines, what we are going to do next is we are going to find out one threshold, and threshold is the distance, and at that threshold distance we are supposed to draw a horizontal line such that that horizontal line cuts our tallest vertical lines, right? So these two are the tallest vertical lines. So I need to find out the threshold between this, because I want to cut the tallest vertical lines. So I may have the threshold like 12, or even I may have the threshold like 13, right? So let us assume that we are deciding this threshold as 12. So what we are going to do is we are going to draw a horizontal line at this threshold, and see here this threshold is decided such that these horizontal lines are cut. Sorry, these vertical lines, tallest vertical lines are cut at this threshold, right? So we are considering only the tallest vertical lines. We are having this vertical line as well. We are having this vertical line as well. This, and this. But which vertical lines we are considering? We are considering the vertical lines, those are tallest. Right? So in our case, these two are the vertical lines, those are tallest. So we are finding out one threshold and we are drawing the horizontal line at that threshold such that this horizontal line cuts our tallest vertical lines. Is that correct? We are not going to select 8 as the threshold. Why? Because if I draw a horizontal line here, this is cutting this vertical tallest line, but not the other tallest line. Right? So I am not considering 8 as the threshold, but I am considering 12 as the threshold. And the reason is, if I consider this threshold, then if I draw a horizontal line at that threshold, then it cuts my vertical lines, tallest vertical lines. Got it?
Yes.
Yes, right. Now, what next? We wanted to decide the number of clusters. So now, this particular process will help us to determine the number of clusters. Right? So, the number of clusters equal to the number of vertical lines which are being intersected by the line that we have drawn using the threshold. So this line we have drawn using a threshold, horizontal line, right? So this line is cutting two vertical lines. This is 1 and this is 2. So this line is cutting two vertical lines, 1 and 2. So the number of clusters that we are having now is equal to the number of vertical lines which are being intersected by the line drawn using the threshold. So this line is cutting two vertical lines. So the number of clusters equal to 2. So in our example, this red line is intersecting this vertical line and this vertical line. So we are having two clusters. And what are these two clusters now? One cluster, see here, one cluster belongs to samples 1, 2, 4 and the second cluster belongs to samples 3 and 5. So these 5 samples of data, we have clustered these samples such that in one cluster I am having samples 1, 2, 4 and in other cluster we are having samples 3 and 5. So we have segregated our data in our example in two clusters and we were not knowing the number of clusters in advance. So using this process and this dendrogram, we have found out the number of clusters. Right? And this is the end of our algorithm. So now we have clustered our data in two clusters in this example. So depending on the data points, we may come up with the number of clusters. So what we need to do is we need to make use of this dendrogram for finding out the clusters. And we need to follow this process. So I hope you must have understood how this dendrogram is being plotted. Right. So this is what we need to do in hierarchical clustering. So this is known as hierarchical clustering. So this is a tree structure diagram which is known as a dendrogram and which sets the hierarchy of clusters. Right? And ultimately this hierarchical clustering or this dendrogram is helping us to come up with the number of clusters in which we can segregate our data. Right? So, I hope now you must have understood both the algorithms those we have discussed in this unit, the k-means clustering and the hierarchical clustering. Right? So, in fact, this unit was very simple, wherein we have discussed only these algorithms for clustering. We are not going into the details of all other clustering algorithms. This is only to give you the insight of the techniques of clustering and how we are going to use this unsupervised method to group our data. And as I stated, we are having lots of applications of clustering. We have discussed these applications in the last class. Right? So that's all with unit number 6. So we have covered all the concepts from our curriculum.